everybody, my name is Valentina Quevedo from the Newcastle Informational Board. Today on my news is the Sustainable Development of the Sucre and Bichada departments. And my partner in this coverage, Alejandra Duarte, the village of Arboleda.
I'm recording from Arboleda, Sucre, to tell you a little about the Sustainable Development Goal of the department Sucre. To begin with goal number 1, end poverty. This goal seeks to eradicate extreme poverty, inflame social protections, and forest resilience of the poor and the people in vulnerable situations. Inside for extreme poverty, present 7.5%, and as well inside of monetary poverty we have 41%. Finally, the percent of the vulnerable population contribute of the pension system at 70.4%. Sucre is located in the Caribbean. There which to reduce poverty by 80.1 percentage points. Goal number 2, zero hunger. This objective seeks to put end to hunger, ensure access, put an end to malnutrition, amongst others. In test objectives is to study mortality rate to malnutrition in children under 5 years. Present insights on a scale from the worst to the lowest with 4.7%. Continue with goal number 3, health and well-being. By 2030, reduce the global maternal mortality ratio to less than 70 per 100,000 lives birth, and preventable deaths of newborns and children under 5 years of age. Also, end to epidemics for AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria. In Sucre, maternal mortality present a 52.2%. Also, in mortality rate, AIDS per 100,000 inhabitants was 7.1%. And finally, the incidence for intoxication by chemical substances was 50.9. Goal number 4, quality education. Ensure that girls and boys complete primary and secondary education, which must be free, equivalent of that quality. Girls and boys have access to career service. In Sucre, the rate of course coverage in secondary education with 81.8%. And finally, the coverage in higher education means university or college uniform has 30.7%. Goal number 5, gender equality. To end all forms of discrimination in the women and the girls worldwide, and to eliminate all forms of violence in the women and the girls, in the public and the privacy, including traffic and sexual and other forms of the exploitation. Eliminate all practice like early and frogs, married and feminine genital mutilation. Last, to promote gender equality and the empowerment in the girls and the women. In addition, in the Caribbean region, there was an increment of 8.8% points in the objectives. Goal number 6, clean water and sanitation. By 2030, equivalent access to safe and affordable drinking water for all. Achievements to equality sanitation and enhanced service for all. Improve water quality by reducing pollution. Eliminate dunking and minimize release of chemicals. Protect and reduce water relay, like ecosystems, forests, mountains, rivers, lakes, and others. For example, in the Caribbean region, there was an increment of 16.3% points. Goal number 7, unforgettable and clean energy. By 2030, ensure universal access to affordable, renewable, and modern energy service. Increasing the share of renewable energy in the energy mix. Incredible international cooperation to facilitate access to clean energy, research and technology. Include renewable sources and double the global rate of improvement in the energy efficiency. In the Caribbean region saw an increment of 6.2 percentage points for 0.3 and 8.2%. Goal number 8. Decent work and economic growth consists from managed per capita economic growth in accordance with national circumstances, and in particular gross domestic product growth of less 7% annually in the less developed country. In Sucre has GDP in Spanish mean PIB, ingreso per capita, of 7.2 millions. Achieved high levels of economic progress through diversification, technological modernization, and innovation, and produce involvement and decent work for all women and men, including young people with discapacities. In Sucre, the index of monetary poverty is at 7.5% between 45.9 and 1.6%. In company, the index for monetary poverty has a percent of 31%. And finally, goal number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Okay, develop renewable, sustainable, resilient, and quality infrastructure, including regional and cross-border infrastructure to support economic development and human well-being. Promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization. Improve the technological capacity of industrial sector in the all countries. In the Caribbean region, where the Department of the Sucre is located there, is an increment of 70% points between 35 and 78%. In Objective 5, 6, 7, and 9, note data have been reported and the performance of these objectives in this department.
In addition to the information and present by partner Paula Cruz from Gran Sucre.
Using 100 goals, building the achievements of the Millennium Development Goals, although they include new areas such as climate change, economic equality, innovation, sustainable composition, peace and justice, magazine other priorities. The goals are unrelated, often take care of the choices of one will high. The Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the Global Goals, are universal calls for the action to end poverty and project the planet ensure all people enjoy peace and prosperity. Sustainable way for the future generations. They provide clear guidelines and goals for adoptions by all countries in the accordance with their own priorities anti-environmental chances on the world at large. Involve the uses and most frequently liking to and others to carry on a spirit of collaboration and promoting to shows on the best and options in the order to improve life in a society, peace, justice, and strong institutions, alliance to achievements objectives. Reduction of the inequality, sustainable and cities and communities, responsibility consumption and production, climate action, submarine life, on terrestrial ecosystem.
On the other hand, we will talk about the department of Bichada that Andrés David Gomez was inserted in the municipality of Santa Rosalia.
Well, good afternoon. Industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Develop reliable, sustainable, resilient, and quality infrastructures, including regional and cross-border infrastructures, to support economic development and human well-being, with an emphasis on affordable access. Promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and by 2030, significantly increase the contribution of industry to employment and gross-domestic product in accordance with national circumstances. Reducing inequalities. By 2030, enhance and promote the social, economic, and political inclusion of all people, regardless of age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion, or economic situation or other status. Sustainable cities and communities. By 2030, provide access to safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transport system for all, and improve route safety, in particular through the expansion of public transport, paying special attention to the needs of the community. Responsible production and consumption. By 2030, achieve sustainable management and efficient use of natural resources, halve global per capita food waste at retail and consumer level, and reduce food losses in production chains. Climate action. Strengthening reliance and capacity to adapt to climate and natural disaster risks in all countries. Incorporate climate change measures in the national policies, strategies, and plans improving education, awareness raising, and human and institutional capacity for climate change mitigation, adaptation, reducing its effects, and early warning. Underwater life. By 2022, 34% of seawater monitoring stations with acceptable and optional categories are expected to be rated. By 2025, significantly prevent and reduce marine pollution of all kinds, in particular pollution caused by land-based activities, including marine debris and nutrient pollution. Life of terrestrial ecosystems. By 2020, insert the conversation, restoration, and sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, and either freshwater ecosystems and their service, in particular forests, wetlands, mountains, and arid areas. Peace, justice, and strong institutions significantly reduce all forms of violence and corresponding mortality rates around the world. By 2030, significantly reduce financial and illicit arms flows, strengthening the recovery and return of the stolen assets, and fight all forms of organized crime. Thanks.
Complementing in the information from Carreño Positive Companion, Juliana Barrera.
2019 Departmental Development Plan. Let's Build Bichada has an objective of advancing poverty, overcoming poverty, quality of life of the Bichada people, and led the department as a territory of peace, solidarity, equitable, inclusive, competitive, and with a high sense hunger. Its objectives are the universal access to safe and nutritional foods, ending up forms of malnutrition, double trade, make health distortion, and sport subsides. Education. The main problems in education identified by the population at the table's participatory construction of the Departmental Development Plan 2060-2019 were access of teachers of mandatory demand, mainly in rural areas of the department, to the state of education establishments and boarding schools, life supply of high education problems in schools, overcrowding or shielding in the classroom of education establishments. Like with the National Policy on Gender Equity for Women and the Comprehensive Plan to guarantee women and people clean water and sanitation. This program seeks to ensure the water purification provided to communities through the construction of autonomous water treatment and improved sanitary economic growth. Generative condition of territorial competencies that dynamics the economic growth, productivity, and promote the prosperity of Bichada. The government's proposal is to promote the economic development of the department, for which these proposed objectives and strategies for economic growth, standard team, agro the process, and the tourist industry.
Analysis of the objectives sustainable development in the Department of Bichada and Sucre is to save the population from monetary poverty, taking into account that for the next 4 years to expand benefit more than 14,600 young people in vulnerable economic conditions and with access to high quality programs, increasing the benefit both the quota of the youth in access program. It has increased more than 14%. It has number of students with a single day, compared to same period generation the health, economics, and education. Thank you very much for watching our emission today. Goodbye.